Hey, Bessie Bob members, we're here now with our Crappie Plus experts. Crappie Plus, brand new. This is going to be our very first Crappie Plus meeting. I know nothing about crappie, so if you're a really good crappie fisherman, you could probably stop right now. I have no idea what kind of questions I'll be asking or should be asking. So, but if you're just getting started with crappie, no, seriously, we got great crappie fishermen here. I'll ask the questions, they'll lead us along. So, Crappie Plus, and we've got on our expert panel for Crappie Plus, we have the great Wayne Fitzpatrick, who most of you know him as a great bass fisherman, but he's also a great crappie fisherman. That sucker has caught some big old crappie. And of course, in his shop at Fitz Fishing, he's got everything that you need for crappie fishing. What's really cool about, he hooked me up with this whole thing of crappie stuff. And Jack here, Jack Uxa, fishing guide, and with Jack, about how many crappie versus bass trips do you do every year?
Oh, it's
about 50-50, you think?
Yeah, probably close. Yeah.
Jack knows all about the crappie fishing out there, and he, awesome guide. Anyway, he's looking through. I call it the bling box because crappie, man, you got all this color and all this kind of stuff, but Jack's like, man, Wayne has set you up with all the right stuff. So get the Waynes, and he'll get you hooked up with the right crappie stuff. Jack Uxa, everybody knows, best fishing guide on the lake, and Terry Blankenship. I know Terry doesn't want to probably ever say this, but probably considered to be one of the best crappie fishermen on the lake. I'll say one of the best, if not the best. Won many crappie tournaments, national tournaments. I think he probably loves crappie fishing more than he does bass fishing, as a matter of fact.
It's a passion.
Yeah, it's a passion, but he's definitely one of the most well thought of on this lake. Wayne actually set me up with this really cool rod and reel for so I can go out there and actually try and catch some crappie. And I'll let Wayne talk about this, but it's a brand new rod called the Avid X.
Avid X, St. Croix.
St. Croix.
Just came out with it.
Just came out with it, and probably considered to be one of the best crappie rods on the market right now. And Wayne's got these up at his shop at Fitz Fishing in Osage Beach. So if you're looking for a good crappie rod, he's got me hooked up with, I think that's a Fluger.
That's a Fluger Purist.
Purist.
They just came out with them last year. It's been a real popular reel.
Yeah, and I feel very confident. If Wayne hooks me up with something, I feel very confident I'll go out and catch some crappie with it. So check out these Avid X reels or rods at Wayne's place there. So this particular version of Crappie Plus is going to be a short, abbreviated. This is kind of the teaser. So you guys want to look at this every month. We'll start Crappie Plus on the website starting about April 1st. So this is just our inaugural deal, and just to kind of get us started. So so here we are in March. We've had some cold weather, and Jack, I know you've been out there, you've been doing some crappie fishing, you've had some crappie guide trips. We're the beginning of March right now, going to be heading into April soon. What's going on with the crappie?
Well, water temperature's a little below 40. Most of my crappie have been coming out of deep brush piles, 25 to 35 feet of water, vertical fishing, straight down in brush, working real slow. There are some fish that are being caught out of much shallower water. Guys that are that shoot docks and bowder fish around docks. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's working. It seems like they're kind of spooky up there for me. A lot of times I can see them, and my more consistent fish have been out of deep water. Now that's going to flip flop here as we go into March and we start getting more days. Those shallow water fish are going to be not as spooky, and they're going to be bigger. My deep water fish, the brush piles are just keeper size fish. I don't know, I'm going to start looking for the rivers to start turning on. They're going to start warming up as we start getting some warm days. Can't wait for them crappies to start moving shallow. They're going to be on the banks in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So
Terry is one of the best crappie fishermen on the lake, and I'm a brand new crappie fisherman. Tell me a little bit about Lake of the Ozarks as a fishery for crappie. Are they just everywhere? Do you have to go find them? Like Jack was just saying, he could see them. I'm assuming you could see them on your graph, or you can see them.
Yeah, you can see them. No, you can't see them with your eyes.
Yeah.
Not now.
Okay.
Well, I think you could relate to this lake similar to the bass, you know, because this is one of the top lakes in the country
Yeah.
for bass fishing. Well, it's really truly is one of the top lakes in the country for crappie too versus numbers. Maybe not in size. You know, if you catch a 12-inch crappie here, that's a good crappie.
Yeah.
I mean, and if there's crappie that's been caught out here that's 14, maybe up to 16. I personally have never caught but one fish that was 16 inches out of this lake, but I hear stories about people catching 2.5, 3 pounders and that kind of thing out here occasionally. But I caught lots of numbers, and but the low end of the lake, which we're talking typically deeper, clear water. I would probably be doing like what Jack's doing. I'd probably be fishing some of the deep stuff down there. And if I was to say I was going to fish deep water, it would be 25, 30 foot of water. You know, this time of year, I would fish that deep, you know, if with the conditions.
Yeah.
But it won't be, just like you said, a matter of time here with weather. When it does change, you know, these fish are going to start going shallow.
Yeah.
And, you know, typically in this particular area, the early fishing for crappie will be either Indian Creek up the Gravois or up the Glaze,
Yeah.
or up the Niangua. You know, either or of the Nianguas. Their krill checks on this lake is supposed to be our maybe average on this particular area, and the Niangua, our fish biologist, was telling that up the Osage, huge numbers of fish up there. So apparently their hatches has been really good up that direction in the past several years.
And when you say up the Osage, you talking about the river?
40, yeah, say 35 to 70 mile marker water,
Okay.
kind of somewhere in that area. I think is where they did their testing. And I've been up there somewhat for crappie fishing on a few guide trips, and it seemed to be pretty easy to find fish up there. Versus, I think our fish in this particular area is
This particular area meaning
anywhere from the
Osage.
Glaze to the dam.
Yeah.
It seems like the numbers are down a little bit. At least I've heard a lot of complaints about people saying, well, I'm not catching them like I was. But, you know, still yet, you know, you go out and catch a limit of crappie. You know,
Right.
they're saying they weren't catching their 50, 60 fish, that they was, you know, a boat full of people going out and fishing. And, you know, but, you know, a meal for me and my wife is 4 to 5 fish, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't have to have a lot of fish to eat.
Yeah.
And so, what it boils down to is, our lake is one of the top lakes, and I
Yeah.
think you can catch
Consistent.
fish.
Mhm.
Yeah, consistent, and I think you can catch fish from end to end on this lake. I mean, there's crappie end to end. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And so it depends on, you know, some people like fishing dirtier water, which that would mean you probably need to go up in the creeks or up the river.
Yeah.
And if you like fishing clear water, you know, anywhere from, you know, we haven't had the rains, so most of the lake is probably, even up the river, it's clear,
Yeah.
clearer than normal, and so you can catch fish deep right now. I wouldn't probably recommend just running out trying to find something real shallow right now because of the weather conditions.
Yeah.
But there's going to be fish suspended. The lake's been pulled down. One of the struggles I had for years and years is to try to catch fish at the end of January. That's when they pull the lake down and it's reached its bottom temperature normally of water temperature. Well, I finally figured out how to catch those fish. You know, they just suspend. That's the same with the bass. You know, they
Really?
pull out on these secondaries and they'll just suspend out in open water. And so, you know, and you just gotta be patient. The water's cold. Their metabolism's really, and they're very lethargic. You can't go after them, you know, guns a-blazing trying to catch fish right now. You just gotta be patient, slow. And there's a lot of times just holding that jig dead still. They'll catch more fish than anything. You know,
Hold that
you
jig.
just, yeah, as long as you're in their strike zone. I mean, there again, it's that Snickers candy bar. If it's in my reach, eventually I'm going to grab it. You know, they see
M&Ms.
yeah, that M&M. I've
Oh,
got,
M&M.
you know, I've been picking on that pole there, and I can reach it. You know, but same with the crappie. You know, if they got that jig sitting there, and typically you got to fish above crappie. You know, I'm just a firm believer. I know that they'll hit a jig coming down. You know, you fall and drop it, but in general, most times crappie will feed. You know, they're looking up.
Yeah.
And so, as long as you get that jig in their strike zone, when you're just being real patient and slow, and maybe not even calling it dead stick, and all of a sudden that fish will just move. I've watched them. They won't attack it. You can go all around with that jig. It'll just won't bother. But if you put it right there above them and just let it just sit there, all of a sudden that fish will just go and just suck it out. It may take 30 seconds. It may take a minute.
Yeah.
But, that would be the only way you'll catch those fish sometimes.
So, Wayne, on Lake of the Ozarks, we have white crappie and black crappie, I think is what I understand it to be.
Correct.
So what kind of differentiates the two other than the color? The black are usually a little bigger?
Your black crappie on this lake normally average a little bit bigger. There is some huge white crappie, but most of the time your black crappie are a little bit more meaty, they're thicker in the back.
Yeah.
We call them humpbacks, snub nose. You get them real good ones. They just, I don't know, they don't look anything like a white crappie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're more hand-shaped.
They got freckles everywhere.
Yeah.
They're stocky built.
Yeah, they're stocky.
They're kind of like the largemouth of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kentucky's more football. That's
Yeah.
similar with the black and white crappie.
Yeah, your black crappie just acts different in the wintertime. Actually,
What do they do? Yeah.
yeah, right
Ask me
now,
that.
yeah, you can, the crappie that Terry's talking about, more likely, or the white crappie you're catching deep, ain't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your black crappie in the wintertime, a lot of times, they won't get that deep even in the cold weather. And that's why guys that's out there bass fishing catch so many of them on stick baits.
Yeah.
Well, you and I did
Yeah.
a tournament here not too long ago. Them fish, they'll get 10, 15 foot deep, 20 foot, stay there pretty much all winter.
Yeah.
And they'll just run in wolf packs. I mean, normally when you find one, you find a bunch of them.
Yeah. And now, Wayne, do they also behave similar to bass in terms of their spawning season? I mean, we're in March, and I've heard about the river warms up a little bit better. Will they start getting a little bit more active?
Yeah, the river's first place they're going to spawn. Here a few years ago, Roger was fishing a pro-am of some sort. I forget what it even was, and he actually went up to Little Buffalo to put in. He said, "You want to go along with me?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll go with you." And he noticed when I put my rods in there, he said, "You taking your crappie rod with you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to check them out." I said, "It's getting time for them maybe to start pulling up there, I mean, it was early March, but the lake was low like it is now. There was a lot of brush showing and everything. And we bass fished for a while there. We caught a couple, and we got down one bank there. Had a lot of little sticks where you can see just tops of brush piles. And I dug my crappie rod out and boy, the first flip in there, and I pulled that crappie jig, and it hit it so hard, it made a big toe hurt. And I got it in, I mean, just a giant black crappie. And I said, "Don't you move this boat." And I flipped back in there again. I mean, it's every cast. And after 2 or 3, Roger said, "That's enough of that." So he dug his crappie rod out. And we just caught our limit there in about a half hour.
Wow.
And then crappie just pulled up. I mean, just probably within a day or two of us being there.
Yeah.
But that's the way they'll do, And bass basically do the same thing, They'll back off when the weather gets cool and in and out, in and out.
Yeah. Jack, are the crappie, following bait fish as well, or are they relating in some other way? I mean, how
I'm sure the bait fish, it helps to have them around. Especially for the black crappie, it helps them. Especially if the wind's blowing in a certain cove. But crappie are especially white crappie, are a lot more homebodies. Where if you've got a good brush pile, that's going to be a good brush pile for you.
Yeah.
It's going to be a consistent place for you, a lot more than bass.
Yeah.
So that's the good thing about crappie. Now there are days where certain brush piles are going to be better than other brush piles, and I'm sure bait plays a role. Same thing with the wind can play a role, but it's not like as critical as it is for bass fishing, where there's days where if I'm following bait with the bass, the only thing I'm looking for is bait fish on the screen, and then I'm fishing.
Right.
Crappie, it helps. It always is important because crappie, they don't ever feed on crayfish. Well, I guess probably they do every now and then, 1%, but they almost always feed on minnows or shad. in the smaller shad at that, not the gizzard shad. So, I mean, it always plays a role, but they're a little bit more homebodies.
Yeah. So why is, it seems like brush piles are really important from a crappie perspective. And is that because, kind of like what Jack was saying, is because they're homing like, and they like to have some kind of cover or structure around them, or do they roam off kind of like bass do as well? Or?
Well, crappie are just a smaller species of game fish, so they are preyed on. I mean, I'm sure every one of us here has caught crappie before and had a bass come up and attack it.
Really?
You know, and so they are related to structure more probably for protection for one thing.
Yeah. Not so much from an ambush perspective,
No,
like
not well. They do. I mean, they'll relate to brush as much for protection, but the other thing is they're a smaller fish again. Whether it's minnows or whatever the smaller bait that gets into that brush, they're also there for protection.
Yeah.
So that's what holds the fish there.
Yeah.
You know, it will be related a lot to protection, or the combination of protection and bait fish.
Yeah.
And the black crappie, they are roamers. They have a tendency to be, they can be out in the middle of the lake sometimes for whatever reason, you know. But I mean, I lived on North Shore for a while, and this one particular spring and summer, I've come to the conclusion that there wasn't hardly any fish down there, you know. But I wasn't all that familiar with it. I hadn't really fished it that hard for the last several years, and it come that fall, and some crop terms coming up, and I'd already made up my mind I'm going to go other water to fish for tournaments, and then I just happened to, prior to the tournament, one of the big tournaments coming in, to go and I had my john boat still in the water, and I went out and tested water a couple of seasons and caught probably some of the best fish I'd ever caught. Huh. And so I kind of changed my attitude.
Yeah.
Well, those fish, it messed up my whole plan, but those fish, for whatever reason, just moved in. You know, so that's what I'm getting at with the black crappie.
Yeah.
They have a tendency to roam around quite a bit more, and that's what I was actually targeting once the tournament. I did go ahead and fish down that way.
Is there a way to effectively target black crappie, or do you just have to kind of luck into them?
Well, it's wouldn't you guys feel like that the black crappie are a little more related to the low end of the lake, more so than they are and the clear water?
The low end in the rivers.
Yeah.
You know, up there, the upper ends, in addition to the lower end of the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why there's a gap, but there is a gap where, I mean, the Ninewas and the Gravois have got a great population of blacks, and that lower end has got a great population of blacks, and there's blacks scattered throughout the whole thing, but there is a definite drop off in the population, and I don't think it has to do with the year classes.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to say for sure, but I do know this for a fact. I do quite a bit of dock shooting for crappie, and most of the time, the first fish, the shallow fish you catch, are going to be the blacks. Now, a lot of times, if you start fishing deeper, you'll start catching whites. And you'll catch the blacks, and if you get through those without getting bit, and you go ahead and get a little deeper, all of a sudden you'll catch a white, and they'll be, there together. And then there's days when.
So is your summary of that the blacks are more aggressive, or they're sitting higher in the water column?
Well, now if I was going to say aggressive fish of the two, it would be the blacks.
Black,
yeah.
And it's just where Wayne was talking about how they was catching with jerk baits or jigs or whatever in shallow water, because they do tend to run a little shallower. They don't run the same. They don't run the same crowd. The blacks will roam differently. I mean, and I've caught them together, but there's times when you won't catch nothing but blacks or nothing but whites.
So if you were, it seems to me that maybe the blacks may be ones that are maybe more sought after, I guess, because maybe they're bigger.
Well, they're the prettiest fish.
They are pretty.
Mm-hmm. They're the meatiest looking fish, and they are more aggressive. They'll pop a bait pretty hard at times. Crappie aren't notoriously known to be aggressive feeders
Yeah.
anyway. I mean, they're a subtle bite. Yeah. If you're not a line watcher, you're going to miss a lot of fish
Really?
whenever you're a crappie fisherman, because crappie tend to come up behind the bait and push it forward. And, you know, if you don't have the sensitivity or the ability to see the line, a lot of times you won't feel the strike or you won't see the strike.
Huh.
So what happens with me, I'll try to use a lot of time, even a high-vis line, even in clear water, just so I can see my line move,
Yeah.
you know. And to me, it's critical. I mean, I've been born and raised that way.
Yeah.
And it may not always be the best solution to go after, but I believe in it wholeheartedly, and that's confidence, and that's a key.
Well, obviously, you're one of the best, so help me understand that. So you're fishing for a crappie, you need to pay attention to the line.
Yes.
As much, I guess, just like you're doing with a jig for bass or something, right?
Yeah.
And it's not so much, it may be just as something as simple as your line's moved, or there's a
Slack up.
tick or slack up or something like that.
Yeah, and say dock shooting, for instance, when
Yeah.
we shoot a jig back underneath the dock, you know, all of a sudden your line just kind of goes limp, and you don't feel nothing, it just went limp. And then all of a sudden, if you're not really focused, all of a sudden you realize, well, why did it do that? And then you know, where's
Yeah,
that?
got it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's too late by then, but, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, it naturally comes to you that, you know, if that line goes south, if you're fishing under a dock or fishing in deep water, a lot of times, you know, a 16th ounce jig, it hasn't hit the bottom yet in
Yeah.
3 seconds, you know, so it's
Yeah.
going to slack, set it up.
If you don't mind, just for a minute, one of you, is you mentioned dock shooting, and you know, again, I'm brand new to crappie fishing, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure, you know, our Bassing Bob Crappie Plus members, I'm not sure kind of where they're at with it, but I have a general idea. But tell me what dock shooting's all about, and is there a specific time of the year when dock shooting is more important than other times? And so just tell me a little bit about what dock shooting is.
Yeah, it is to me, you know, more timing of the year, like in the spring. I personally feel like the water temperature needs to be 45 degrees to maybe 60. It seems like primo time for dock shooting, because they're still, crappie is kind of a cold water fish. You know, they bite pretty good in cold water, and so they're a little more aggressive. So what I do is I try to shoot under docks, and dock will also.
What does that mean, shoot under a dock?
Well, I'll just pull my jig back, and I'll slingshot it and skip it back up underneath
Okay.
the dock.
Instead of casting,
Okay.
you know, like Terry's really the expert with this, but I do plenty of it myself. Instead of making an overhand cast, you're literally going to load your rod and bend your rod. I'm not going to do it, obviously,
Yeah.
we're indoors here, but you're going to bend that rod significantly, kneel down and aim, and then release.
Kind of like shooting a bow almost, trying to shoot an arrow
Yeah.
up underneath structure and stuff.
And
You're
you're
just getting into places that a regular guy that doesn't know how to do that, he's just wishing that he was getting in there.
And is that, and you're shooting underneath there, is that because you've seen crappie like on your graph or something that's underneath there? Or do
lot of
crappie
times.
relate to underneath docks a lot, or?
Yeah, this lake's full of docks. Dock is basically structure. Crappie are bothered by sunlight, and if they want to be in shallow water,
They're bothered by sunlight.
Well, I know from what I've been told, and I'm sure it's true,
Yeah.
that they are bothered by sunlight. You won't go out and see crappie out here in 2 foot water, out in clear water, hardly ever,
Yeah.
unless they're spawning,
Yeah.
you know, and they're already committed to a bed or whatever. But you get under a dock where it's shaded and the water's clear, you'll see fish right up in 2 foot of water, but you won't see them out in the sun out there like that. So, you know, it's obvious to me that they're bothered by sunlight.
They're a whole lot like a bass. They like the darkest spot on that dock.
They
Yeah.
do. They like
Yep.
the dark spots. Yeah.
And that's year round.
Yeah.
Even the, you know,
Even in the
people think
wintertime.
that in the wintertime, oh, they're going to want that sunlight. Oh, no.
Yeah, right. And so when you're shooting, like Jack just kind of showed, and we'll do some videos on this for the website, is are you shooting like underneath a boat, or are you like, you know, on the sides of docks there's, you know, little openings between the floats, or are you shooting And what are you shooting? What are you shooting?
All of above.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just get it in there.
Yeah, you're back behind the cables, underneath the walkways, in between it's styrofoam, but it's enclosed styrofoam nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, that's your primary areas, but there's a lot of these big boats that are too big to be on dock lifts. That's a great area. Your imagination, you'll find all kinds of places.
There can be a dock can present a lot of different patterns.
Really?
Like the thing that kind of got
That's
me
huge.
this fall, and I didn't do
That's
a
huge.
lot of fishing last fall as much as normal, but I had an article to do, and I went out and fished, and where I was expecting to find the fish, I didn't find them. All right. And then I started fishing these docks, you know, the big platform docks that had the biggest, broadest areas where they had the most shade.
Yeah.
I didn't catch them there, and that's where I was expecting to really catch them. But what I did find out is, for whatever reason, we had a lot of clouds this last fall. And my own personal assumption is that those fish wanted to stay on the docks, but they wanted to get a little bit more light. So what I found was I was catching my best stringers of fish underneath the boat hoist that didn't have a boat on it.
Ah.
It had more light, but it was on the dock. And for whatever reason, that was the first time I ever saw that pattern.
Wow.
And that was just, you know, I just
Yeah.
stumbled onto it, unfortunately, and figured it out.
You mean open slips?
Open slips with a hoist in it.
Oh, okay.
So
No
they had
boat.
cover.
Yeah.
Still a little bit of
But there was
light.
more light
Yeah.
penetrating
Right.
there. But we had so much cloudy cover. Now
Makes
they was
sense.
about 6 foot deep too. So
Yeah.
you know, if they're 2 foot deep, then they're going to be right up underneath the foam. But whenever they're down a little bit in the depth of the water, you know, then if they go 10, 15 foot, those fish a lot of times will come out from the side of the docks and be out around the docks. But
Yeah.
whenever they're up shallow, they're right under the foam. You know, they'll be in that dark area. But this particular weekend, they were under the docks, but they was under the docks that just had a hoist, with no boat on it.
So-
And I could call my shot.
Wow.
It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
So it sounds like
Those pictures right there, that was that day.
those pictures,
Yeah.
those two great big ones,
Yep. That was that day.
those are giant crappie.
It's a great picture.
Yeah, that's a great picture. I
Yeah,
want to check out the
very-
Crappie Plus ad, and you'll see this. You'll see the picture.
You'll see the
there.
face of our
The
crappie.
very
Yeah.
first dock, you know, whenever I took the rider over there and I said this was the kind of stuff they was on, it's nothing like fish, but I said this is the kind of stuff they was on.
Yeah.
First shot, one of those fish.
Mm.
So Wayne, based on what Terry is saying there, how similar is it to bass fishing? And I hate to keep relating that because there's probably a lot of
There's a
crappie fishermen that
relationship.
only
Yeah.
all they do is crappie fish.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm asking these related to bass because that's all I know is that where you have to figure them out.
The only thing, the difference between bass fishing and crappie, a lot of times when we're fishing them kind of areas for bass, they're shallower docks.
Yeah.
They may be only 10 to 15 foot deep docks.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas what Terry's talking about, the big swim platforms and inside the wells and alongside the boats, there's a lot of times you can be fishing 50 to 60 foot deep docks.
Really.
Yeah,
So there's
but they'll be in them same areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
So they may be, the water may be real super deep, but but you gotta kind of find what level of the water column they're hanging in.
right, yeah, like Terry said, a lot of times, them black ones, you know, a lot of times all winter long won't get much deeper than maybe 10 foot deep, or
Yeah.
10 deep docks.
Yeah,
Whereas, like he said now, he's, if you got to say it's 60 foot deep dock, if you got brush hanging off of it, then black crappie may be only 10 feet down, but your white crappie are going to be down there 30, 35 feet down
yeah,
on the same dock.
yeah. Well,
So that's where the dock shooting comes in. Most times you're going to be catching them black ones where if, right now, if the black ones ain't there, the white ones may be down deeper
Yeah.
on the same dock.
Notoriously, the white ones will be deeper
Mhm.
than the blacks.
Yeah. And so is it, you know, Jack, you were talking about, you know, vertical jigging right now this time of year. So we're coming into March, soon April. So do you find that the fish this time of year relating a little bit more to those brush piles? And are you seeing them on your graph, or
Actually, no, that deal, I'm about to quit it. As soon as that water temperature starts jumping up just a little bit, I'm going to start heading into the warmer areas of the, as soon as that water temperature gets above 45, I'm going to start hitting those shallower water areas of the lake, in other words, the rivers.
Yeah.
And start looking for a lot shallower fish. I don't know what goes on, but you think that those 30 feet of water fish that I'm catching right now would slowly move up to 20 and then to 10 feet of water, and I'm sure they probably do. But I'm just going to kind of forget about them for a while. I'm going to head up the rivers. That's what I did last year, and it worked out real well for me. And up there, I'm going to target some shallow fish. I mean, I'm going to be casting along secondary points. I'm going to be fishing, 2 to 6 feet of water, secondary points or alongside docks with brush on them.
Does water clarity, when I think about moving up the river areas this time of the year, I start thinking about, well, gosh, how dirty or how clear is that water going to be, and does that matter to the crappie?
It doesn't. I've got a big hang up personally with muddy water crappie, except for during the spawn. When they're actually spawning, it doesn't matter. You can throw M&M in the water with a hook on it and catch them during the spawn then in muddy water. But I've got a big hang up personally with muddy water crappie. They most of the year. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm just too much of a deep water guy, probably. And I'm fishing too deep, and they're a lot shallower than what I'm looking for. It's fishing shallow and going slow. It's not as easy as you think. That's where that bobber comes in handy. But I don't know. I'm just generally a deeper water honey hole kind of guy.
Yeah. So Terry, what about that in terms of the shallow?
The dirty water, it definitely has to have a lot of structure. I build a lot of stake beds.
A lot of what?
Stake beds.
What's that?
It's where you just drive stakes in the ground and try to, it's originated from like Kentucky Lake and some of those lakes, and some people I know that went down there and started going and it was very productive. And
yeah, think of a skinny stick with no limbs on it, and he's got about 40 of them.
You just drive them
in an area about the size of this table.
Mud bottoms.
Yeah. And
sounds like something I get snagged on.
Yeah, well, you try to top. Here's what you try to do. You try to top them all off at the same level.
Okay.
And then you take a bobber. And, I always try to pay attention to water levels, and I try to get a certain depth for that, where the tops are.
Yeah.
And then try to pay attention to water level, and then I'll try to pull that bobber and keep it right above it. And, and you move it really slow. Use a really bright type bait, whether it's yellow chartreuse or white, or depending on the clarity again. If it's clear, this Bobby Garland blue shad, blue ice has got to be the best bait that's ever made.
Really?
Yeah, and it's such a natural looking bait for what we got for a shad.
And what's that called again?
That's called the Bobby Garland blue ice.
Blue ice. And you have that at Fitz's?
Oh yeah. Got them all. He's got all the Bobby Garland.
Yeah.
There's several different. That's probably without question the best bait I've ever thrown. But there's several different other colors that works. Depends on water clarity again. But
is that a clear water or is that a
that's clear water more so. I mean, I've caught them on every kind of water.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
they got Bayou Booger. They got
Bayou Burger?
Bayou Booger, and there's another called Electric Chicken.
Milk.
Yeah, Kiwi. There's all kinds. They come up with these contests for that. But anyway, it's just the bait, profile of the bait and everything. So, you can. But whenever we're talking about the dirty water, I have caught a lot of fish in dirty water. But the thing I can't do as soon as it turns dirty, I can't catch them. I've been in a lot of tournaments, and it seemed like notoriously it comes a big 5-inch rain or something the night before, and I've got these fish found in real shallow water, and it just been almost wipes them out,
Yeah.
And so, but once it's kind of settled and been there for a while, you know, then they are definitely brush or structure type related to dirty water,
Yeah.
shallow.
So Wayne, you know, you're working, you run a bait shop there. So, and you have a lot of crappie fishermen. I know, I think most of the crappie fishermen on this lake come to Fitz Fishing to get their stuff because you have such a great variety of all the, obviously, the top stuff.
Yeah, he's got about everything that Bobby Garland's got, and then
Yeah.
all the, there's a whole bunch more brands of good quality baits.
You gotta have a lot of bait for crappie.
What have you found kind of in March? What are the crappie fishermen coming in and buying?
Oh boy, they buy it all. I mean, crappie fishermen, they got their preferences. I mean, they really do. I mean, they'll come in with some kind of bait that they had for 30-some years, and they just use their last one, and they come and expecting to still find it. And if they can't find it, they just walk back out the door. They'll go try to find it someplace else. I don't think they make that anymore, guys. They're close to it, you know.
Yeah.
That's fact.
But yeah, no, I get them both. We still, I mean, it's kind of like they were saying a while ago, when they're spawning, you can throw a bare hook out there and catch them.
Yeah.
And I prefer fishing with a jig, but boy, we still have a lot of people that the only thing they fish with is minnows.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
minnows.
have minnows.
Yeah, live minnows.
Your minnows are always really alive too.
Yeah. Yeah, we go through a lot of minnows in the springtime for crappie, and that's going to start here in about a week or two.
Yeah.
As soon as the weather breaks,
Yeah.
Better start getting ready for having the minnows come in because they're going to be coming after them.
Well, we're so fortunate on Lake of the Ozarks that whether you've got a $50,000 bass boat in your slip or not, there's docks around here that are make it very easy to get out there and catch fish, and not just catch a couple little ones. I mean, there's times where, you know, fishing on a dock, you'll fill the whole basket full of them.
Oh yeah.
Lake of the Ozarks is very fortunate for that, have that accessibility.
Yeah, what's the key, Jack? A lot of vacationers or weekend people come here and they don't have boats, but they do want to catch crappie. What is kind of the key? What are kind of the key things that you would recommend to them if they're fishing from a dock to try to catch some crappie?
Find out where the brush piles are around that dock.
Okay.
If there ain't no brush, put some in.
Yeah.
I have so many people come up and say, man, everybody's talking about how many crappie they're catching. We can't catch nothing off our dock. First thing I ask how deep it is, you know, and most of the time there's enough water on it. And I said,
What is enough water, Wayne, do you think?
oh, in the springtime, you know, starting, like I say, starting here in the next few weeks, there's going to be some crappie, especially if there's structure on it. They're going to start moving in there. They're going to be thinking about pre-spawn too.
Yeah.
Now, in the summertime, when it gets hot, you won't find them on them shallow docks. They're going to move out deep then.
Got it.
Then if you don't have 20+ foot of water,
Right,
you
okay.
got a good crappie.
Yeah.
But, you know, they said, we just can't. I said, do you have any structure on it? And they said, what's that? And I said, well, any old limbs or trees or anything hanging or anything on the bottom. I said, you ever get hung up when you're fishing? And no. I said, you probably don't have no structure.
Right.
And I always say it's hard to catch a fish if it ain't there.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
If it ain't there, if you're just fishing off your dock and there's not one there, you're not going to catch it.
Yeah.
And I said, the best thing you do is probably put some kind of structure down there. And I said, that's the only explanation I got why you're not catching them and everybody else is, because they're not on your dock.
Now, Wayne, I see a lot of docks that have like ropes or strings hanging, and I'm guessing that's probably some brush or some kind of structure.
Normally, yeah.
So is your best recommendation for somebody that has a dock and maybe they don't have any structure, is it to actually hang some brush, or is it to actually sink brush somewhere close by? What's the difference between hanging a brush pile versus sinking a brush pile for crappie?
I like shallow brush and deep brush. I always like having shallow brush, you know, I'm going to say 1 foot up to 7 foot, and most of the time that's going to be this bank side of your dock, between the dock in
Okay.
the shoreline.
Okay,
I like having structure there, mostly just so they can spawn in it and everything.
okay,
But then after that, then I'll just start staging it. You know, I may hang, you know, I may keep it on the bottom until I get out to 15 foot, and then I'll start hanging it.
and so when you're hanging it, if there's I know there's probably not, you know, like here's the perfect depth, because I'm sure that changes, but if you were to recommend to somebody to hang brush off of their dock, and you were to give them a range of depth to actually hang that brush, what would it be?
Oh, say if the deep side of your dock is 40 foot deep, I would probably start there and probably hang one 25 feet.
Okay.
Start there, and as you go shallower, maybe bring the next one up to 20 feet.
Uh,
On up, you know, and just work your way up shallow and through your whole dock, maybe stage them just
yeah,
where you got that one out there in 25 feet, maybe on the other end of the dock, take one down 35 feet.
Yeah, suspended.
yeah, suspended.
Yeah.
So Jack, what is the, I don't know if there's something scientific or whatever, but it seems to me that when I talk to crappie fishermen, one of the topics comes up of how deep they are, you know, and so first of all, is depth become a factor? You gotta kind of figure out how deep they are, and
Yeah,
second, if it is it because of,
That's a huge factor, because when you're crappie fishing, I mean, there's a few baits like this that you can cover some water with, but generally speaking, you've got to fish really slow. And if you don't know what depth is working, you can't fish everything super slow. You know, so you got to concentrate on a strike zone that you're going to fish slow. That's why depth is going to be really important.
Okay.
Because you don't have, you know, they won't take a buzz bait or spinner bait or
Right.
anything like that that
Right.
you can cover water with. So you got to be able to figure out where they're at, or at least hear something about, you know, have an idea of where to start. Because then you can zone in on that strike zone and fish that strike zone slowly. That's why depth is, you know, having a good, you know.
and do they relate, do crappie relate to different depths based on water temperature or something, or based on, or is it just, are they just following kind of where the bait fish are, or what makes them feel more comfortable in one depth versus another depth?
Yeah, it is based off a lot of conditions. I mean, it can be weather, or it can be time of year, water temperatures. Yeah, it can be based on a lot of different things.
Right.
I just got a general rule of thumb. You know, on this lake, seem like if you'll just start at 10 foot deep, you know, that seems to be one of the most consistent temp as far as depth and stuff to
Yeah.
catch fish. I've catch probably more fish at 10 foot than any other depth. So what I'm going to say is just start at 10 foot and then either come up or go down if you don't get bit, you know, under docks.
And I know this is like a really crappie 101 question, and this is kindergarten stuff, so at 10 feet, are you talking about 10 feet hanging off the dock, or are you in a boat and you're throwing something out there and reeling it back into 10 feet, or?
Well, I try to consistently stay with the same size line and the same size jig.
Okay,
And a 16th ounce jig on a 6-pound test line will drop approximately a foot a second.
Okay.
So I'm a counter, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, you know.
got
And
it.
that's how I consider where my depth is, whether it's 9 foot or 11 foot.
Okay,
But you know, consistently I'm going to be close to that 10 foot at that count.
and that doesn't necessarily mean 10 feet of water, you could be on 40 feet of water, but
Yep,
you're counting down to 10
exactly.
feet of water.
They spend a tremendous amount of their time suspended.
Yeah.
Crappie or not, they'll hold to cover, but they'll hold loose to that cover. They won't. There's times where they'll be in that brush, but a lot of times they'll just be schooled around that brush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just love to be suspended. And this is a lake that's got a lot of deep water, so it's easy for them to be suspended. It's part of the reason why we've got such a consistent crappie fishery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The number one structure on this lake's docks.
yeah.
We got more docks than you ever count.
So this is our, you know, first month, it's our teaser edition, so we're gonna wrap up here with, you know, some of that base information. I do have a couple questions for you guys that I wanted to ask about, however, is that, you know, in that box of baits that Wayne had put together for me, which I'm so thankful that he did, there's all kinds of different crazy colors, you know, I mean, you've got just hold a couple of those up there. Jack, you got some whites, you got some.
Electric check in there.
You got some yellows.
Why don't you bring me that box?
Yeah, let's see that box right there. I mean, you got all kinds of crazy stuff. Hell, you got stuff with a red head and, you know, chartreuse on the bottom. You got like a root beer color. So, first of all, do crappie relate, or are they biting certain colors, and what is it that triggers one color versus another color with crappie? Or is it something you just got to play with, and maybe they'll hit all the colors one day?
Yeah, you could probably catch crappie on about any of those colors there.
Yeah.
But there seems like there's always one, not always, but there could be one most of the time that's
A little more dominant.
yeah. And it's just like bass fishing, the chartreuse on the bait.
Mm-hmm.
You can go anywhere, probably in the United
Yeah.
States, and throw chartreuse, and you're going to catch
Right.
fish.
Really?
Anything with little
Yeah.
chartreuse.
And I don't know what there is that really lets chartreuse in the water, but
Yeah.
apparently there's something about that sunlight penetration that really triggers them. But I will always have a chartreuse available. There again, I talked about that blue ice. That was a dominant color. Yeah, that was a dominant color for several years, and it seemed like it's kind of backed off a little bit somewhat, but you know, it's just so natural looking. You know, it has a real similarity to what our shad look like, and there's enough reflection on it too to mock that shine off of a shad. So because it's got those little streaky areas on it. And,
That's gonna be a good,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a good spawning bait there,
Yeah.
or something when you want to move it with a little spinner head on it,
Yeah.
with that little paddle tail.
Dirty water, it's
Yeah,
got vibration
yeah.
with that tail on
Yeah.
it. It just got a lot of action.
Yeah, that's a new one Strike King come out with, I think they call it Slablicious.
It's called the Slablicious.
Slablicious, yeah, I seen, I watched
And is that a specific,
Or-
is that a specific color there, Wayne, or is there a variety of colors on that? Or is that just like Terry saying, you get something with a little
Bluegrass,
chartreuse?
yeah, I forget what that's called in Strike King, I don't have the packages
It's a
here.
new bait.
Yeah, it's a new bait just come out.
It's a new bait, like the style of it.
Yeah, but I watched a TV show on it the other day, and holy cow, they caught him on that thing, and they showed it underneath the water, and it's just got a lot of action.
Well, there's a bait from Bass Assassin that I've been throwing that's my buddy Kimo over at Tanterra turned me on to, and it's got a very similar tail to that thing. I can tell you that. It's called a Crappie Dapper, and that Crappie Dapper's got a similar tail, and that thing's been a killer, so that one should be a killer.
Yeah.
I am kind of curious about this, so if you look at this particular bait here, it does have that tail.
Yep.
That's going to
Be more of a
wiggle.
moving bait.
Where this one here doesn't, it's not going to have that flappy.
Yeah, and that bait right there will catch more fish
can't see
vertically
that.
than this bait
Right.
will.
That
This
one there
one
you
catches
build
more
more
vertically.
still,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't see that one.
And then this one here is going to be more, this is
That-
going to
that's
be
your
more
search
vertical, and this is going to be one where you're going to be moving it a little bit more in the water.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool, like that, good stuff, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up, and how I usually wrap up on the bass stuff is, you know, what your favorite baits and all that kind of stuff. So Terry, I'm just gonna ask you, in March, on Lake of the Ozarks, what part of the lake are you gonna target? And is there any particular color or type of bait that you would recommend? And what kind of depth are you targeting?
Well, if it's a typical March, I'm gonna go shallow,
Okay,
and I'll either be up in the glades,
okay,
quite a ways up. You can fish some of these bigger coves, and you can find some warmer water. And I really will look a lot for bait fish too, you know, because they're the same as the rest of the fish. If the bait fish move into shallow water, the game fish is going to count.
Mhm.
So I always kind of do try to relate to that. You know, the Indian Creek, it'll turn on, and the glades will turn on, and the upper Niagara and both Niagaras will turn on probably the quickest to where there's going to be consistent bites. And it's because the water temperature's warm there quicker.
okay, cool. And is there any particular colors, or are you just playing with different colors to see what they want?
The clarity will make a difference. I'll stay with
Okay.
the bright chartreuse, white colors if it's really dirty. If the water's, yep, that's Yeah, that'd be a really good bait, and it's got vibration in it too, you know, that will help them zero in on it. The blue ice and the electric chicken and the Bobby Garland baits is probably by far my favorites. I'm more used to them, you know. I'm pretty much a creature of habit, and I've had such great luck with it that, you know, I don't want to necessarily change that much, but I'll throw something new too every once in a while. But those are my three: blue ice, electric chicken, and bayou booger.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna come back to you with a final bonus question and then we'll wrap up, but I wanna ask you, Jack, how are you gonna get your March guide trips? How are you gonna get them on crappie so that they have a good day? You're gonna be targeting whites, blacks, and how are you gonna get them on?
Well, I don't know. I mean, my main area is 31-mile marker to 24-mile marker. That's around Tantera,
Right.
which is my main section. That's where I got the most brush pile. That's where I'm the most consistent at. That's where the most white crappie are too. And I'm just going to use tubes for all that kind of deal.
Tubes.
A tube is show them that electric chicken.
Yeah, that's right there, that's a tube.
Those are your most consistent baits,
Okay.
in my opinion, on this lake. Just paired up with a simple jig head. That's money right there. That's going to be a lot of. Yep, that's a tube. I primarily use the Johnson tubes. I use a 3/32 ounce jig head most of the time, 6-pound test, and I use it paired up with a crappie nibble, chartreuse crappie nibble. If you come to Lake of the Ozarks without crappie nibbles, you're missing the boat. Some guys don't like them.
Oh, I like them.
They catch fish, but
Usually when you're vertical jigging, or
you know, every time
doesn't
I'm vertical fishing, if I'm covering water like later on in March, once things start to warm up with some of those paddle tail grubs or maybe a curl tail grub, I use a lot of curl tail grubs towards the end of March, mid part to end part of March. Then you're covering more ground. Then the crappie nibble's not important, but it's not going to hurt you either.
Yeah.
It's never going to hurt you. So you might as well put one on.
cool. All right, thanks, Jack. And Wayne, I know you don't like catching small fish. You like catching big fish. So if you were out there in March and you wanted to catch some of those blacks with those big shoulders, and you know, he talks about, you know, 4 crappie, you get him a meal, you catch one and get you a meal. I'm just kidding. So how are you going to go catch? How would you go target those blacks this time of year?
Oh, I love throwing that stick bait. I have like that little circuit. That's a 78 Lucky Craft.
Yeah.
There's quite a few little stick baits that'll catch them. Bag of Bass makes a junior now that'll catch them.
Walk around brush, or is there anything important about that? Or?
No. This time of year, I'm going to be bass fishing.
Right.
Biggest part of the time. When I catch that first crappie, then this thing comes out with my crappie.
Doesn't take you very long, though.
Right. And that's when I'll sit there and, and catch me a mess of crappie.
Cool.
And I'll always, anytime this time of year, if I'm practicing for a tournament, I'll always have a crappie rod with me.
Cool.
I go down the bank and I see some of it. This time of year, you know, it only takes one stick like that.
Yeah.
And you won't catch a lot off it, but like you said, they'll be just a great big giants. There may be only 2 or 3 laying there, but they won't be that deep.
Got it. Cool.
So whenever I run across something like that, that crappie jig goes in there.
Cool, man. All right, thanks, Wayne.
I like quality over quantity.
I know. I didn't mean anything. I just know from bass fishing.
Yeah.
If it ain't got 5 pounds written on it, I went out and pre-fished looking for some bedding bass. And I found a whole bunch of bedding bass. I was so proud of myself, and I took Wayne out. We're going to fish a tournament that next weekend, and he looks at that and says, we'll try a 3-pounder if we need them. And we go to another spot. It's a little bigger, but I think we can find some bigger ones, Bob. So by the end of the day, man, we ended up with 23 pounds of fish that Wayne found. And they were all big. So I know he likes to catch big fish.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know we all like to catch.
We all do.
Bonus question for you. Bonus question for our members, but asking one of the best experts about crappie fishing. What do you find to be, you know, whether it's guide trips or talking to, you know, average crappie fishermen or brand new crappie fishermen, what do you find to be the biggest mistakes that they make, or that they think about, or whatever, when it comes to crappie fishing on Lake Minnesota?
It's not, having some good line and having a line that you can see. You know, I've watched on my guide trips many times peripherally seeing somebody's line bounce or slack up or something, and say, got a bite. He says, what do you mean? I said, well, I seen your line move.
Yeah.
And, you know, and people, once if they fish enough, you know, you don't have to be, I mean, if you're kind of an avid fisherman, you'll pick up on that. But if you're not, it won't really matter to you. But, you know, that would be the biggest key to me, is have a pretty good quality line, something you can see and be a line watcher. And
what is your recommendation for line then, Terry? Is there
I use Vicious. They got the high vis blue, and they've also got that yellow looking line. It's just a high vis type line, and it's a pretty soft line. It doesn't seem like it, you know, it really curls from I mean, I've had good luck with it, but that's my preference.
Great, cool.
That's what I put on here, the high vis blue.
Really? Cool.
It's a fluorescent blue. I use the Strand, and it's been really good too. It's monofilament too. You don't need to get all fancy.
Yeah, I'm a vicious jerker, so I went to Vicious line, I guess. I don't know, but anyway, I tried some braided type line, and it was in a pretty big tournament.
Yeah.
And I just ripped my jig right through their mouths, you know,
Really?
because it has no stretch to it.
Yeah.
And I was fishing close, you know, so, and I couldn't get a handle on my jerking, so I finally went back to monofilament and redeemed myself pretty good. But, you know, I feel like I probably could have placed one place higher than if I would have, which would have been much better. But
it's a good point.
But it was because of the fact that I was fishing really close to me, and I just jerked too hard, where monofilament had enough stretch that I went ahead and was able to start getting the fish in after that. So now, there's a lot of people do fish with a braided line, but it didn't work for me at the time. It may now, I don't know.
I got a quick thing to add on to this. Big mistake people make is not paying attention to electronics. You know, I had a guy in my boat yesterday, had a nice guide trip. We had caught over 30 crappie. And, you know, we were fishing this vertical presentation in the brush, and in a matter that he had told me that, you know, if I didn't force him to do that, he never would have been that patient enough to let his baits sit down there and soak down there for as long as we were doing that. And, you know, it wasn't anything really fancy in my opinion. It's stuff I've done for years. It's just vertical fishing straight over brush piles. And, you know, Fish Finder tells you what's going on down there. Listen to it.
Yeah. So when on your Fish Finder, in addition to seeing the brush, are you actually seeing?
Yeah, you'll see fish above the brush, and sometimes even in the brush too.
Yeah.
Okay. But listen to them. You know, nowadays, you know, a lot of people have got high-end electronics, including myself, and Terry knows electronics even better than I do. And listen to them things. But crappie spend so much more of their time in suspended and in deep water versus bass that you know, bass are a lot of times shallower. You know, it's routine to catch a crappie out of 20+ foot of water. So you know, the electronics can really help you out on that. So listen to the electronics. Use them.
Yeah, I rarely even stop unless I see them nowadays.
Really? Yeah. Well, guys, thank you very, very much. I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to learning more about crappie. I learned just a ton about crappie right here just tonight, so I am looking so forward to this.
It's a great sport.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just need to learn how to fillet them and maybe even like to eat them.
Try to eat them once?
Like I said, Bob, we caught 30 of them yesterday, and it wasn't a good day.
Yeah.
That was just a, you know, no big deal.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good day.
Yeah, that's a pretty good day.
How many times have you gone out there and caught 80?
This time of year, that's a good day.
Yeah, cool.
Good deal.
He did good.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Look forward to working with you. We'll be back here the end of March talking about April. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.